Hi, this is Carol Wisely with Radio Free Decipher. This is the first broadcast for 3 weeks, as I was away at the Toy Fair along with Kendrick Summers, Jonathan, and a few other people from Decipher. And what a great Toy Fair it was. Pokemon everywhere. Mike Myers and the VW that was promoting that film parked outside our showroom for a week, so if I could sing you the tune I would, but it's engraved in my mind. And I would have said lots and lots of Episode 1 stuff, but of course with all the secrecy surrounding the movie, you knew it was there, but it was always behind locked doors, including the stuff that we had with us. Anyway, it's nice to be back doing the Radio Free Decipher again. I'm going to be answering some of the questions you sent in. We requested questions this week, and I was besieged. My email box was besieged by them. And of course, most of them I can't answer. But I'll try and answer a few without teasing too much. But first of all, I'm going to introduce you to somebody new to Radio Free Decipher and fairly new to Decipher itself. That's Mike Reynolds, who's going to be in our PD, well, already is in our PD department. Hi, Mike.
How's it going?
It's great. And I'm going to, first of all, introduce you as a former co-designer of Middle-earth, the Middle-earth CCG for ICE, a company that's not too far away from us here in Virginia. And Mike left ICE and came to us how long ago now?
A month ago.
A month. You've been here a month. Now, we don't see PD very often these days, particularly those people who have anything to do with Episode 1. So although Mike's been with us a month, I think he's been cited 3 times.
Yeah. It's a very exciting topic.
So tell me a little bit about your background, Mike. Tell me how long you were at ICE.
I was at ICE for 4 years. I came in as an editor and a proofreader and desktop publisher, and graduated to co-designing and editing and doing a lot of the lead design for the Middle-earth collectible card game.
And have you always been a gamer?
No. Actually, I was probably only started gaming probably about 8 years ago.
And what brought you into gaming?
My wife's boss was a gamer, and he just said, "You want to come check out our club?" And I said, "Sure." And it was, history after that.
Was that a role-playing club?
No, it was board gaming. It was with a Titan board game, Avalon Hill game.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. So tell me some of your favorite games.
Golly, Star Wars customizable card game, Magic, Netrunner, Titan.
Are you a diplomacy player?
Rollmaster. Yeah, but I have a hard time sometimes diplomatizing, or whatever that word is.
Have you ever played Sandy Weibel?
Oh, yes.
I was going to say don't.
Sandy and Sean Smallman, both of them are world class.
I know, they're pretty good at diplomacy.
Yeah, they kind of I'm a little snack to them, I think.
So what do you think makes a good game designer? What kind of a background does a game designer need to have?
Well, you have to have, math to some extent, but you also have to have kind of a feel of your market. You have to understand what people like, and you have to sort of separate your personal tastes in games from. You have to not assume that everybody likes the same things you do in games. In fact, oftentimes your tastes are going to be a lot more narrow than the people you're trying to reach.
So what was your favorite aspect of working on Middle-earth?
Working with the art department, combining a game mechanic with art concept to come up with the kind of the whole card.
Who did the illustrations on Middle-earth?
Well, various artists. I think well over 100 artists. The art director is Jessica Nagrum, and Jason Hawkins is her assistant. They were just excellent.
That was a great thing. Were you a Tolkien fan?
Yeah. I've only read the novels once, which is kind of lame over at Iron Crown Enterprises, but but yeah, I'm a Tolkien fan. Everybody over there is like, Psycho and all that.
Yeah, I started reading Lord of the Rings when I was, I think, 12, and I guess I've probably read the novels 30 times.
Oh, wow.
I've sort of slowed down now to like once every 4 or 5 years, but there was a time when I read them twice a year, spring and autumn.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a Tolkien nut. I have 2 shelves of reference and background material in my library at home on Tolkien, so it's a little known fact. Of course, I love Star Wars and Star Trek as well. Wasn't that a great Voyager episode? Did you see Dark Frontiers?
Well, I have to be honest, I've never watched Star Trek in my life.
Good job he's working on Star Wars. Well, I thought it was awesome, and for all you out there who are Star Trek fans, I think this Queen was better than the one in the movie. Now, that's just my opinion, but I'm sticking to it. Okay, Mike, so what brought you to Decipher?
various things, both basically the right place at the right time. I have a good friend that's my colleague, and I work close with, Tom Lischke, in the PD house. And I told Tom I had left eyes, and Tom said, "Well, let me talk to a couple people, and we'll get back with you." And everything just sort of went downhill from there. Much to my surprise, I totally was not expecting the opportunity, but I was glad it was there.
You play tested for us, didn't you, for a while?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So now you're working on Star Wars with Tom, Chuck, Jerry,
Absolutely.
Bill, and you can't talk about anything you're doing because I guess you're working. Are you working only on Episode 1 stuff, or are you also working on Classic?
Both.
Oh well,
Definitely
Classic's
both.
okay. Are you working on Endor?
Oh yeah.
Is it looking good?
I think so.
Good. We're excited about it. I can't wait for those Ewoks.
Yeah. We tried to make the Ewoks exciting. I think we have.
Well, they are exciting.
Yeah,
cute.
exciting Ewoks.
Good. So tell me what it's like, what the other Deciferians are like. What's PD like to work in?
Can't really say anything negative about it. It's some nice guys. We have to have a certain chemistry because we really are with each other a lot and rely on open conversation a lot. And so you really can't have any personal hang-ups with your colleagues, and we don't. But yet we really are not inhibited either from expressing our opinions. We don't. We can basically say whatever we want, and it's not personal. And sometimes it gets a little heated, but it's not going to leave the office at the end of the day and stuff. And all that's necessary for free flow of ideas.
Have you become part of Chuck Kallenbach's famous Friday night gaming night?
No, I haven't, because I leave town I leave town for Charlottesville to visit my wife for the weekend every Friday after work. However, on Tuesday nights we do show up at Chuck's.
Oh, good.
And we watch Buffy, and then we play some games or whatever.
Great. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Good. Well, thanks for talking to us, Mike. I'm sure we'll talk to you again. I know you have to get back and do some more work on Episode 1 stuff and do some more work on Endor, and thanks for talking with us.
All right. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to try and answer some of the questions that were sent in to me this week now. I probably received 200 or 300 different questions, and most of them people didn't actually put their names on, just their email address, so most of these are going to go unreferenced. And of course I've only picked maybe 10 or 15 to answer, so all of you who don't get your question answered, I'm sorry, you'll have to keep an eye on our website, because usually we tell you everything at some point. Most of the questions were to do with Episode 1, Young Jedi. I'm really not able to tell you any more at the moment except what's written in the announcement. There's a lot of information in that announcement. If you read it carefully, it pretty much tells you what we're doing with Episode 1, so go back to the announcement and reread it. Young Jedi collectible card game will be our first product, and we're aiming to have that product out in May. It's a thrilling product. I'm personally very much in love with it. It's great, and I wish I could show you stuff, and I wish I could tell you stuff, but not for the moment, so you'll just have to be patient. So let's move on to the other questions. Is there a tentative release date for Star Trek CCG Blaze of Glory? Are there any hints about what preview cards we'll see in that expansion? Also, when will Star Trek CCG players get a second anthology? Okay, yes, there's a tentative release date, and it's April. That's tentative, it's projected. We're hoping that we can make April, so we'll see. No hints whatsoever about preview cards. I tried to get some stuff out of PD, but no way. And when will Star Trek players get a second anthology? Well, I hope this year. We actually showed a mock-up of a second anthology at Toy Fair, so I know it's in the plans, so later this year I'm sure there's going to be one. Okay, here's a Star Wars question. Are there going to be any Ewok cards based on the Ewoks from the 2 Ewok movies in the Endor expansion? This is from Terence Bowlby. I don't think so. I talked with Jerry. I mean, it was hard enough getting Jerry to do any Ewok cards at all, never mind drawing them from many sources, but I don't think there's going to be any. I think the Ewoks you see in Endor will be the ones that you saw in the movie. So with all the hype around Episode 1, what's happened to Insurrection? This question comes from Sam De Smith in Glasgow, Scotland. Will we see it as a new Trek game along the lines of Young Jedi, or will we perhaps see some cards from it in Blaze of Glory? There's no plans for a new game using Insurrection, Sam. There's no Insurrection stuff in Blaze of Glory either. Although the movie's been out for 2 or 3 months, it takes us a long time to get the resources from Paramount. That's one of the reasons the First Contact expansion was so much later than the movie. So you won't see any Insurrection stuff yet. Sometime, of course, you will. There was a lot of good stuff in Insurrection, so although it may not be a full expansion, it's definitely going to be cards developed at some point. By the way, I loved Sam's Sigfile quote, which is the following: "When you go out to fight for freedom and truth, it's wise not to wear your best trousers." That's an Ibsen quote, and it was in his Sigfile, so I'm going to put a little contest up on the web sometime soon for the best Sigfile quotes, because we get some really good ones. Okay, here's another question, excuse me. In the newest battle expansion release, are there any plans for a new battle card type, only to be used in battles? Managed to get hold of Bill on this one, and I got a very short answer, but the answer was yes. And the question went on to say, is there a plan to make the battle mechanic more realistic? Yes, there is, much more realistic. Bill wouldn't tell me much, but he did say that battle is going to result in more diverse damage results, and it's going to be much more realistic. Okay, here's another question from a loyal CCG player. Are you going to make it so Mott and all his stuff, advice, barber pole, etc., are useful in later expansions? Bill tells me there's always been a plan for Mott, and at some point you'll see it, but certainly not in Blaze of Glory. Then the second part of the question was, are you going to make the Barash icon useful? Well, I talked to Tim Ellington, and he said that there is something in Blaze of Glory to do with Barash. He wouldn't tell me what, but he certainly thinks that that icon will be more useful. Here's a Star Wars question that I went to Jerry with. Every main character in Star Wars CCG has had at least one new version, except C-3PO, and his old one is rather weak. That's the opinion of the questioner. Are there plans for a new one in Endor? Well, this is all that Jerry would say. There'll be a lot of things that make you want to play 3PO on Endor. He wouldn't tell me if there was a new version, but he didn't tell me there wasn't. But I think what he was hinting at is that 3PO will be a lot more, be seen a lot more in play after the Endor expansion. Okay, Robin Rattay sent these questions. We know a lot about the future of wars, Endor, Episode 1, Young Jedi, Shadows of the Empire. But what will we see for Trek? Until now, we only know about Blaze of Glory. What is the status of Voyager, Insurrection, the second anthology, the Ferengi, or maybe even a printed version 2 rules? Well, we are going to be doing the Ferengi. In fact, the Ferengi expansion, titled Rules of Acquisition, is slated for the end of this year. We are going to be doing a Voyager expansion, but that probably will be next year. We are going to be doing a second anthology, and hopefully in '99. And at some point we'll do a version 2 rules. We just don't know when. A related question. He read that EFC is out of stock. And he says, how much of the old expansions like AU and QC are left, and can we expect white-bordered versions of those? Well, there is some left, and there are no plans for any white border on those expansions. Two short questions from Andy Casimiro Jr. Will Luke's lightsaber appear in the Death Star 2 expansion? Yes, Jerry said. And where is Bouche? She's on her way, is all that Jerry would say. Okay, here's a question from Ernst, a Californian tournament director. Originally, the Unlimited Dagobah expansion was to be released in January. Then it was removed from the production calendar, and the only upcoming item listed is the Endor expansion. What's happened to Dagobah Unlimited? Are there still plans to release this set? Yes, there are plans. Maybe later this year. We're not quite sure yet. Are there any plans to make any new board cards from the Voyager movie, Dark Frontier? Well, as I said, we all saw that, except for Mike Reynolds, earlier this week, and every PD guy I've spoken to says definitely. Not sure when, but there was a lot of stuff in that 2-hour special. A lot of exciting Borg stuff. Okay, page 2. Will any new cards be made that combat Rogue Borg now that they have gained some power from the Fadjo collection and the Dominion? I spoke to Tim about this, and he said yes, they're working on it, but he wouldn't give me any more details. Pierre-Paul Couture from Gatineau, Quebec, Canada. As a collector, I really enjoy noun cards, especially ships. Star Trek expansions have less than 10% of the cards that are ships. Will we be seeing more ships in the Blaze of Glory, knowing that it's based on battle? Bill told me yes, there'll be some. Probably not more than 10% of the expansion, though. He said he pointed out that PD try and concentrate on ships that have great gameplay. They don't just put ships in because they exist. They put in ships that are really going to contribute to the game. There's a question from Ron Hubbard Jr. I've noticed that blackboarded versions of the first anthology preview cards are starting to be released with the Dominion. Will there be blackboarded versions of Spock, Sensitive Search, and the 11 two-player game missions? I'm afraid that answer's not determined yet. It's under consideration. And also, he asked, are all the commitments referenced in the TNG cards going to be released? There's quite a few of them. He noticed that Anya and Salia finally showed up in the Dominion. Well, I don't know about all of them, but there are some commitments showing up in Blaze of Glory. A question from Chris. 2 questions about the Endor Star Wars CCG expansion. Will the cards contain only images from Endor, or will they contain images from other scenes in Return of the Jedi, such as Dagobah the Executor and the Rebel Fleet briefing, scenes that occurred before the final third of the movie? I got a short answer from Jerry on that, but the answer was yes. Questions now from Josh Bailey. When do we get a Star Wars Christmas special expansion? Well, the answer from Jerry contained phrases such as when hell freezes over and over my dead body. That's all he would say. And then he asked, Josh also asked that his tournaments are growing and he wanted to know how to get one of those new CD-ROMs to turn in his scores with. Well, to Josh and anybody else out there, if you want our tournament organizer software and you don't have it yet, email Sean Smallman, tournaments@decipher.com, and ask for your CD-ROM and he'll send you one. Questions from Bernard Ching, who's a Star Wars and Star Trek player that lives in Melbourne, Australia. I met him when I was down there last year. He mentions the Star Trek dilemma, the Shellyak, that it does not affect headquarters. And is there any possibility of Decipher changing that ruling? Well, Bill told me there were no plans to do that. Finally, some questions from Scott and Jared. Will we ever see more ships from the First Contact Federation fleet? The answer was yes, that's possible. Another question, is Decipher really planning to introduce a new side deck in A Blaze of Glory? Yes, that's the answer to that. Will it seed for free, since every player will include it? Don't know, was the answer from Bill, or rather, I'm not telling you. He got more and more flip as I asked him these questions. What kind of cards will be able to go in this side deck? And Bill's answer was cardboard ones. So that's all he would tell me. I asked him Scott and Jared's question about current plans for introducing the Mirror Universe, but Bill told me that he couldn't speak to that one yet. And will we ever see a complete original series bridge crew? Wait and see. So, sorry that some of those answers were non-answers. I get what information I can, and PD are usually very good at telling me stuff when it's determined, but they don't like to give away stuff before it's absolutely determined, because if we say something and then we change our minds, we get 1,000 emails a minute. Anyway, guys, that's all for this week. I'm not quite sure what we'll be talking about next week, but keep those questions coming in and I'll try and fit a few more in. See you then.